everybody and welcome back, and I'm back out on the A2 today. I've had it about 3 days and I've driven it quite a bit and I'm really enjoying it. It's a cracking little car to go about and it's not the quickest thing in the world, but I'm really enjoying it. So today I'm going to have a look at 3 things. The first thing is there's an awful noise in the engine bay, and it's difficult to know what it is because the sound travels around the engine bay, but I've got a handy little tool, you know, to home in on where it actually is. The second thing is that there's an amber engine warning light has flashed up on the dash, and this happened with the previous owner, and I'm going to get my little diagnostic tool on it and find out what it is and see if it's easily rectified. The third thing is I'm going to have a look at the gear shift and I'll show you how to easily diagnose what exactly is wrong with it, and then hopefully sort it out today, you know, without buying any parts. So without any further ado, I'm going to start the car and look for that noise in the engine bay. And if you put your head down to the engine, it's definitely coming from the left. So what I do is, I feel really daft doing this, is put that to your ear and then you can pinpoint where it's coming from, but I'm not going to do it looking at the camera. As I said, the sound travels all over the engine bay, but initially I can hear it's coming from over here. So as soon as I put my ear on, as soon as I put this on my ear, I moved it towards the alternator and it got louder, and I actually put this on the alternator and it got really loud and you could hear a very distinct buzzing. So it's definitely the alternator. Even without taking the belt off, I can diagnose that. I've gone on and had a look on eBay for an alternator, and I found this one, which I'm going to buy. So hopefully I'll get that within a day and I'll get it put on tomorrow. The second thing is the yellow engine warning light on the dash. Now to diagnose this, I've got my little OBD iCar Pro tool, and I'll put a link to this. I get asked about this little tool all the time, and I'll put a little link in the description below of where you can get it. I do have VAGCOM, but I find I always go to this first because it just gives you like your basic code without getting too deep into it, you know, with that you do with VAGCOM. So I have an iPad here and I've got a free app in it, which I'll put the link to the description below on as well, and I just connect them up and check for codes and just see what pops up. And there we have it. There's a code in there and it's P0170 and it's fuel trim bank 1. I don't know if you can see that, but I believe that is connected to the intake system, like a vacuum leak or like too much or too little fuel. So I'll go inside and do a bit more investigation online and see exactly what it is. And it looks like it's either a vacuum leak, as I suspected, or it could be connected with the fuel going into the fuel rail. And I think an obvious thing that I'm going to do first is change the fuel filter. I had a look at the old filter on the car and it looks really old. It looks so it's been on there for quite a while. And I was on the A2 Owners Club forum and somebody suggested that the first thing that you should do is change the fuel filter. So I've gone on to eBay and I've gone and ordered it, so that'll be here within a couple of days. I've done a quick visual on the intake system and I can't see anything obvious, and I don't want to get too involved in that today, but at least I know, you know, where to look, and I really have to take all the intake system off and give it a real sort of detailed look, close look, and see if there's anything else in there. I'll also take off the throttle body and probably change the mass airflow sensor anyway to a new one because it doesn't do any harm. But that's for another day. I'm going to crack on now and have a look at the gear linkage mechanism because I really need to get that sorted first. So in my intro video I've already shown you exactly what's happening, but I'll quickly recap. The lever seems to be stuck in, in one position. If I move it over there it'll stay there, if I move it over there it'll stay there, but you can get forward and back easily. So there's an easy way to diagnose what is wrong with the gear lever mechanism, and I'll just guide you through it just now. Right, so we're down in the body of the kirk, as they say, and it's difficult to film in here and actually do the job at the same time. So I'm just going to point out what I'm going to be doing first. And the first thing is to take these cable ends off the actual cables, and there's a threaded rod on the cable, and all that you do is you just pull this back. I'm not going to do it just now, I'm just going to show you. And you pull this back and the cable actually pops out the other end. You've really got to get both hands in and force it out. But the first thing to do is to turn the gear lever right back here, and this gives you enough room to get the actual cable out and pull this wire back at the same time. It's quite difficult to do only because of the room that you've got in here, but you can do it. Once you get both cables off, this part sitting on top of the selector shaft should bounce up and down freely. You should push it down and it should bounce straight up, and if it does that, then it's more than likely to be this shaft in here. And this is what actually, this shaft is actually the cable that's connected to the sideways movement of the gearbox, and this cable here is the one that pushes it into first or back into second. So what you've got to do basically is take off these, and there's videos showing you how to do this, but you basically pull them back and then you pull the gear cable out, then pull that out the way. Then there's a little clip goes on the end of this, which is within this part here, and there's an island bush in there, and it gets all gummed up and it stops the spindle from turning, and the friction on it must and a combination of the friction of the oil and dirt just stops this from spinning in its mounting. And the reason I know it's that is that you can push this tower down and it pops back up very easily, but as soon as you put this on, that'll just barely move at all. So I've got this to get into clean out that mounting. I've got a pencil here with some emery paper on it, and there's not a lot of room in there, and I've just got to insert it into the mounting and just spin it about, and just to try and clean it out a bit. So I've got the paper in there with the pencil, and I'm just spinning it round and just moving it backwards and forwards, just to clear any gunk that's built up on the inside of that bush, and hopefully just clean enough just to get the lever back in, and with some silicone grease just to give it a bit less friction. Hopefully that should sort it. So I'll keep this going for a while. There's no easy way to do this, you've just got to persevere. So when I put it back together, the gearbox still felt a little bit vague, and what it was this whole lever mechanism was loose on top of the selector shaft, and the nut wasn't tightening down enough. So what I did was I put a washer between this mechanism here and the nut and tightened it right up, and now the gearbox is lovely and direct. And this shaft all lubed up, it's moving really easily now, and you can push this up and down, and you see how if I push it, it springs up again, or if you lift it, the same happens, it goes back down. And this wasn't happening before because this part was all gunged up. But it was a heck of a fiddly job, and look at the state of it. There's no lot of room to get into to manipulate these levers and get the clamps back on. So I used a set of mole grips to get a hold of the cable and push the cable against the clamp to get them back on. You've got to get them right on. So that's it all put back together, and I'm going to try it inside the car now and see what it's like. Oh, that's just great. I'm really pleased with that. It's really direct. It's a bit like Chuck Norris's Winchester repeater. And it goes into gear. It's lovely and tight as well. And that washer between the shaft and the tower mechanism on the top has done the trick. And there's just no play in that gearbox whatsoever, which is really good for a car that's done 165,000 miles. New alternator arrived this morning, so I'll just get it in straight away. Well, here I am out quite late as usual, and the alternator's on now and the belt's all put back on and the tensioner's put back on, and I thought I'd just check the air filter too, but it's slightly dirty, but I think I'm going to replace it in the service. It's a bit cold and wet today. I've got the A2 jacked up, and I've got the Bosch filter, petrol filter here to do, and it's located on the driver's side just in front of the rear wheel. So to get it off, I've got to unscrew this and then push in these clips and wiggle them off. And I'll have to work quickly because there'll probably be a bit of petrol flowing out. This one's been a real sod to get off, so the way that I've got it, I've had to put a lever in here, and you've got to be careful because you don't want to snap them. Push it in, and then I've had to lever it off. But I've got it, and there you go. Well, that's it done, and there's no leaks, but more crucially, the engine light is not on the dash. In fact, it's not been on all week, so maybe it just needed a good run. I've done quite a few miles this week. So when I was under there, I had a look at the exhaust as well, and I took delivery of this back box yesterday, but I think the centre box might need done as well, so I'm going to price that up, and I'll just do that at the same time. The other reason that the engine management light could come on is because of the O2 sensor behind the catalytic converter. It's quite a cheap thing to do, so I may do that anyway, but I might just wait until the engine management light comes back on. So that's the first lot of jobs done on the A2 to great success, which I'm pleased about. The next one is the biggie. And you can see here I've already made a start, and that's the lacquer peel and the paint correction. But I think that merits a video on its own. So I'm just going to stop now. The weather's closing in. What better way to spend your Saturday than under a car in the drizzling wet rain, but that's par for the course on Garage of Dad. As I say, the next one that will be coming along will probably be the lacquer peel, so wish me luck for that. So keep watching, keep subscribing, thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video or if it's helped you in any way. I'll be back soon. It'll probably take me about a week to get this lacquer peel done, but that's probably going to be my next video, so we'll see you soon.